A long, long time ago, in the golden green hills of Igbo land, there lived a prince named Unche. He was strong, wise like the elders, and as brave as a leopard. But Prince Unche had one terrible problem. He smelled bad. Really, really bad. When he passed, even goats ran away. Birds flew off. And girls, they would cross rivers to avoid him. No soap worked. No palm oil, no bitter leaf, not even sacred water could wash it off. So one day, Unche heard something. A secret. About a place called the Stink Forest. Inside, it was said, a spirit lived. A spirit that could cure even the oldest curse. And so, Prince Unche, with his walking stick and his smell, set off into the forest. To find a cure. To find his name. And maybe, to save more than just himself. In the green and golden lands of Igbo kingdom, there lived a prince named Unche. Prince Unche was tall like a palm tree. His skin was dark and smooth, and his eyes were like two bright kola nuts shining in the sun. He was strong, wise, and brave. But he had one big problem. He smelled. Not just a little. He smelled very, very bad. His body odor was so strong that even goats ran away when he passed. When Unche walked through the market square of Umuuma, people held their noses and whispered, "Huh! The Prince of Smell has come again." Even birds flew away when he sat under the iroko tree. The king, Oba Izudo, was worried. He loved his son, but no woman in the kingdom wanted to marry him. One girl named Ngozi even jumped into the river just to avoid greeting him. The queen, Adis, tried every kind of soap made with palm oil, shea butter, and bitter leaf. She sang old healing songs. She prayed to Allah, the earth goddess. But nothing worked. One night, the king called his council of elders. They sat in a round hut made of red clay, under the full moon. He said, "My son, Unche, must marry. But no woman will stay near him. What can we do?" An old man named Ponedi, the oldest in the land, stood up with shaky legs. His eyes were small, but they held ancient secrets. He said slowly, "There is a place, a dark place, called the Stink Forest. No one who enters ever returns. But I once heard a whisper that deep inside, a spirit lives. A spirit who knows the cure for the curse of Unche smell." The council gasped. The king's voice trembled. "Is this curse magic?" he asked. Ponedi nodded. "A powerful curse. Born before Unche was even born. It follows him like a shadow." The queen wept. Unche, who had been hiding outside the hut, heard everything. He clenched his fist. He looked up at the moon and said softly, "If the forest holds my cure, then I must go." And with that, the prince began his journey. But little did he know. The Stink Forest held more than just secrets. It held danger. It held spirits. It held truths he was never meant to find. At dawn, Prince Unche reached the wide and flowing river Njoba. There, sitting on a flat stone, was a glowing woman with silver eyes and water dripping from her hair. She was the river woman, the guardian of all who crossed. She looked at Unche and said, "You seek the Stink Forest. Few return. Listen carefully." She gave him 3 warnings. Don't follow your shadow. Don't speak your name at night. Don't eat the food offered by the trees. Unche nodded. But he didn't understand. The river woman vanished into mist. And Unche crossed the river. Deep in the forest, Unche heard the sound of a drum. Dum. Dum dum. Dum. He followed it until he saw a drum hanging from a tree. It had no drummer. Suddenly, the drum spoke. "You are not welcome here, Prince who smells." Unche gasped. The drum laughed and said, Turn back now, or lose your name forever. But Unche stepped forward. The drum vanished. And the forest grew darker. As Unche walked, the trees began to whisper. Smelly prince, stinky boy, turn around. But one tree whispered something different. Go left at the fork. Or you will be eaten. Unche reached a fork in the path. He went left. That choice saved his life. For now. A snake, longer than a canoe, slithered in front of him. It had two heads, and both spoke. One head said, turn back. The other said, go on. Unche closed his eyes and stepped forward. The snake bowed its head. You are brave, they said. And slithered away into the dark. That night, while Unche slept, a shadow crept into his camp. It was the odor thief, a spirit that feeds on smells. It sniffed him. Then screamed, too strong. Too strong. It ran away, leaving a trail of green slime. Unche opened his eyes. He was alone again. Unche saw a girl sitting on a tree branch. She wore a red wrapper and had no feet. She smiled. Are you lost? She asked. Unche said, no. I am searching for a cure. She pointed east. But when he turned to look and turned back, she was gone. Unche came to a small river. He looked into the water. And saw his childhood. His first bath. His first fall. He saw his mother crying. He saw his smell begin on the day he touched a glowing rock in the palace. He fell back. Was it a curse from then, he wondered. A red flame floated in the air. It turned into a small spirit. It said, you carry a sting not born from death, but from a forgotten promise. What promise? Unche asked. The flame vanished with a hiss. Unche was left cold and confused. That night, shadows danced around his fire. They laughed in deep voices. He seeks to change. But can a shadow wash itself clean? They surrounded him. He remembered the warning, don't speak your name at night. He kept his mouth shut. And the shadows vanished at dawn. Unche found a large stone in the shape of a face. Tears flowed from its eyes. He touched it. Suddenly, he cried too, without knowing why. A voice whispered, the stone weeps for all who carry pain in silence. He sat beside it, then rested. A cloud of smell shaped like a man floated before him. It said, you cannot fight me. I am part of you. Unche raised his walking stick. But the spirit just laughed. You don't understand the curse yet. Then it flew away. Unche met an old woman stirring a pot. She had no nose. She said, I lost my nose to the same curse. She gave him a god. Drink only when the forest tries to eat you. He bowed and thanked her. But as he walked away, her heart disappeared. At night, thousands of fireflies surrounded Unche. Each one whispered a truth. Your mother knows the secret. The curse is not on you alone. A name once stolen stings forever. Unche slept at night with a heavy heart. A lion blocked his path. It wore a crown made of palm leaves. You may pass, it growled, but first answer me. What stings more than a rotten yam, but lives in every man? Unche thought. Then said, shame. The lion smiled. You may pass. He found a shiny mirror in a puddle of mud. In it, he saw not himself, but a baby, crying. He touched the mirror. Suddenly, he smelled nothing. He smiled. But it returned within minutes. Almost, he whispered. Twin girls appeared in the morning mist. They spoke together, one of us speaks truth. One of us lies. Ask only one question, said the left twin. Unche asked, which path leads to the cure? The right twin pointed left. He trusted the opposite and went right. A tree began to sing a lullaby. His eyes grew heavy. He remembered the warning, don't eat the fruit of the trees. But a fruit dropped. Sweet and golden. He looked away. And walked on. He entered a clearing with bones scattered like sand. Spirits rose from them. They circled him. One whispered, we tried and failed. Will you? He held his god tight and said, I will not fail. The spirits bowed and vanished. A voice shouted his name, Unche. Unche. But it sounded like his younger self. He turned and saw nothing. The forest was playing tricks again. He met a woman in white. She did not run when he came near. He was shocked. She said, I smell worse things, like lies. She gave him a small calabash. When the sting becomes a storm, break this. He entered a cave where no sound existed. Not even his footsteps. There, he saw paintings on the wall. One showed a boy touching a glowing rock. Another showed a woman crying into a bowl. Mother, he asked. A strong wind came and whispered. The smell is from the broken promise of your ancestors. Unche knelt. How do I fix it? But the wind was already gone. Unche met a boy who looked just like him. But the boy smiled and smelled of roses. Who are you? Unche asked. I'm who you were supposed to be, he said. Then he disappeared into the trees. Animals danced and invited him to a feast. The food smelled sweet. But he remembered, don't eat food from the trees. He refused. The animals turned into spirits and clapped. You are ready for the truth. He found a giant tree. On its trunk were faces, crying, laughing, screaming. One face looked like his own. It opened its eyes. The smell is not your fault. But the cure must be earned. He dreamed of a boy drumming under moonlight. The boy said, find the spirit who holds your name. Unche woke with sweat on his face. My name was stolen. He reached a glowing red rock. The same one from his childhood. He touched it again. The smell grew stronger. He screamed. Then passed out. While unconscious, he heard a voice. It said, to cure the stink, you must find your name. The real one. The first one. It lies where the sun meets the earth. That night, the stars formed a pattern. It looked like a path. He followed it. He now knew. He must go to the heart of the forest. Where day becomes night. Where names are born. From mystery to revelation. Unche followed the stars to a deep valley. There, the trees were taller, older, watching him. The air was still. Too still. This was the heart of the stink forest. And somewhere here, his name was hidden. A tall figure with glowing eyes stepped out of a tree. I am Onuaha, keeper of names. It pointed at Unche. You walk with a false name. Unche's heart beat fast. Then who am I? But the spirit disappeared into fog. Unche entered a hollow tree. Inside, he found a scroll made of bark. It listed names. Names of his family. But next to his own, there was a blank space. And a burnt mark. A woman with a face painted in red clay blocked his path. She said, speak your name. Unche opened his mouth. But no sound came. She shook her head. You see now. He nodded. He had lost his real name. He came to a river made of glowing blue water. Floating on it were names, written on leaves. He searched for his, but every leaf crumbled when he touched it. A small creature with golden teeth and a bag of leaves leapt from the trees. It hissed, looking for your name. I might have it. Unche chased it through the forest. But it vanished into a hole. Unche climbed into the hole. But instead of going down, he fell backward in time. He saw his grandfather, dancing with a mask. Then he saw a young woman, his mother, arguing with a priest. The priest held a glowing rock. He watched his mother crying. The priest said, "If the child lives, the smell will follow. If the name is sealed, he will never know why." She whispered, "Seal it. Let him live." Unche wept. His mother had saved him, but at a price. He awoke near a giant drum. It began to beat by itself. Dum. Dum. Duum. Each beat revealed a letter of a name, but only one at a time. He had to find the rest himself. A mirror stood in a clearing. This time, when he looked in, the face in the mirror was not him. It was a warrior, holding a golden staff. The warrior said, "When you find your name, your form will change." Unche stumbled upon spirits dancing in masks. It was the festival of the lost. One mask looked just like his face. He touched it, and remembered being named at birth. But the name was whispered too low. A mask covered in feathers floated toward him. He placed it on his face. And suddenly, he could smell nothing. Was he cured? No. The smell returned once the mask was gone. A walking stick lay in the root of an iroko tree. He touched it, and memories filled his mind. His birth. His first cry. A golden pot shattering. And a name whispered by a spirit midwife. On. Then silence. A tree with eyes said, "Answer this to take one step closer to your name. I stink without rot. I live without breath. What am I?" Unche thought. Then said, "A curse." The tree gave him a single letter, C. An old woman sat beside a small fire. She looked at him with love. "You don't remember me, do you?" she said. "I was there the day they took your name." He knelt before her. She kissed his forehead. The ground shook. A voice came from deep below. "If you want your name, offer your fear." Unche shouted, "I am not afraid." But a part of him trembled. The earth opened and swallowed his shadow. In darkness, his own shadow stood before him. It spoke. "You hate me. But I am you." They fought, not with fists, but with truths. Unche accepted the shadow. Only then did it give him a letter, H. Behind the waterfall stood a woman with eyes like silver fish. She held a necklace. "This belonged to your real self," she said. He wore it. The smell faded slightly. Only slightly. A cave echoed only names. Unche shouted, "Unche." The cave repeated, "Unche. Unche." Then suddenly, "Uncho. Unchi. Uncho. Ench. Uche." He blinked. Was his name even Unche? The fireflies returned. But this time, they were red. They surrounded him and whispered, "Your real name was buried with the bones of a brother you never knew." He gasped. He had a brother. He reached a grove where the wind never blew. There, he found a small grave. No name. Just stones. He touched it. The earth shook. And the smell around him grew even stronger. A white goat approached and began to cry like a child. It spoke. "Your brother was me. Reborn." The curse touched both of us. Then it ran away into the mist. Unche fell to his knees. The priest from his visions appeared. He said, "The name you carry is half. The rest is buried in truth and fire." He threw a pouch at Unche's feet. Inside was a piece of golden cloth. Unche opened the cloth at night. A tiny flame rose from it and danced in the air. It formed the letter, U. Only 2 letters left. But time was running out. He climbed a hill where voices cried all night. One voice called his name. But not Unche. It called, Choku. Choku. Was that his true name? A woman came down from the clouds. She held a jar. Inside was the final letter, E. You have almost all the pieces, she said. But are you ready to carry the name? Unche had to walk across fire, then swim through ice water. Only one name would keep him alive. He whispered the letters, U, C, H, E. He said, "My name is Ochechukwu." The forest shivered. The smell vanished. The wind sang. And the trees whispered, "Welcome back, Ochechukwu. He who smells of truth." He had spoken his real name. He returned through the same river, the same whispering trees. This time, no drum spoke against him. Birds sang. People bowed. He was Prince Ochechukwu. Back in the palace, his mother fell to her knees. "You found it," she whispered. The king cried. The smell was gone. But Ochechukwu had changed. Forever. Prince Ochechukwu and the breaking of the old curse. A suspenseful and powerful ending to the journey that began with a smell and ends with the kingdom's rebirth. For the first time since birth, Prince Ochechukwu bathes, and the water does not turn dark. The smell is gone. The people celebrate. Drums beat. But deep below the palace, something wakes up. Ochechukwu dreams of his father's crown on fire. A shadow laughs behind the flames. He wakes up sweating. What is left unfinished, he wonders. Children in the village begin to vanish. One by one. All from families who once served the palace. Whispers begin. The curse is not over. The royal throne develops a crack that glows at night. The king calls elders and priests. They say, "The curse is older than the prince." It began with the first king. Ochechukwu explores a hidden part of the palace. He finds a sealed room with carvings of weeping faces. Inside, he finds a black crown. It hums with dark energy. The crown speaks. "I was warned by your ancestor. I demanded power. I gave it. And I left a sting behind." Ochechukwu drops the crown and runs. He goes to the river Njoba. The river woman returns. She says, "You found your name. But now, you must wash the land of the ancient curse." She gives him a shell. "Use this to call the forgotten." Ochechukwu blows the shell. The skies turn red. A giant figure rises from the earth, covered in roots and smoke. "I am Udoji, the god of old truth. You summon me. Now pay the price." Udoji says, "You must go where even names fade, the land of the first sin. There, you must undo what your ancestors did." Ochechukwu agrees. Udoji gives Ochechukwu a staff made of lightning and bone. "This staff will guide and protect you. But it cannot lie." Ochechukwu travels west for 7 days. He crosses fire, silence, and screaming hills. Finally, he enters a black valley where no birds sing. There, stone men with hollow eyes guard the path. They ask 3 questions. He answers correctly. They step aside. Chapter 73, The Tree of Betrayal. He finds a tree growing upside down. It shows him a vision, his ancestor, King Azondo, killing his own brother for the throne. That act began the curse. The ghost of Azondo's brother appears. He says, "Your smell was my cry for justice." Ochechukwu bows. "I am sorry for the sins of my blood." The ghost blesses him. Fire falls from the sky. It does not burn Ochechukwu. Instead, it burns the black roots beneath the ground. Back in the kingdom, the lost children reappear, sleeping but safe. Their parents rejoice. The people say, "The prince has saved us again." But something dark escapes from the land of sin. A snake with many eyes slithers north. It whispers, "The boy has undone the curse, but awaken me." It calls itself Ikpuru, the cursed one. and it hates Ochechukwu. It begins to spread sickness and fear across Igbo land. Ochechukwu calls chiefs from the 9 great villages. Together, they prepare to fight Ikpuru. But some chiefs still fear him. The prince once stank. Maybe he still carries evil. One chief poisons the king, thinking Ochechukwu will take power. The king falls into a deep sleep. Ochechukwu refuses the crown. He says, "I must end the curse fully. Only then can I lead." He wears a mask carved by his grandmother. It holds blessings of past queens. He enters the forest again, ready for the final battle. They lead him to a mountain made of glass. At the top is a mirror. In it, he sees Ikpuru, inside himself. Ikpuru was never a beast. He was the anger, the shame, and the hidden pain of all his family. Ochechukwu stands tall. "I forgive all of you," he says. The mirror breaks. The mountain falls. Ikpuru screams and dissolves. A golden rain falls over the land. Back at the palace, the king wakes. He calls for his son. "You have done what no man before could do." The old black crown is buried. A new crown, made of light wood and sun feathers, is created. Ochechukwu wears it. The people cheer. Ngozi, the girl who once jumped into the river to avoid him, returns. She says, "Now I know, the smell was never your true scent. It was the call of truth." She becomes his friend. Maybe more. A great festival is held. People wash in the river and tell old secrets. No more shame. No more hiding. The kingdom is renamed Yukoland, land of the true name. Children are taught the story. Ochechukwu places a magic god in the palace. It tells his story to every child who touches it. Even today, it whispers. Long ago, a prince with a powerful sting found his name. Other kingdoms challenge Ochechukwu. He does not fight. He shares food, stories, and wisdom. They bow in peace. She returns one last time. She gives him seeds. Plant these when you feel lost again. They grow into truth trees. The talking drum plays once more. But this time, it sings. The prince is whole. The land is healed. A day of no talking is held once a year. To remember the time Unche walked the forest in silence. A mirror is placed in the market. Anyone can look in it and see who they really are. Some smile. Some cry. All grow. Ochechukwu writes the full story on animal skin. He calls it the smell that saved the kingdom. In a dream, all his ancestors come. They say, "You have broken the curse. You have remembered us. Now we bless you." Even in far lands, children say, "I want to be like Ochechukwu." His name spreads like the wind. Years later, Ochechukwu has a son. The baby is clean. No curse. No stink. Only laughter. The people gather at the palace. They say, "Tell us the story again." And Ochechukwu smiles. He opens the gourd. And the story begins again.